everyone, this is Wolfie Chew, and I am probably one of the easiest people to scare that you will ever know. There are a lot of things that scare me, and some of those things are pretty weird, so I thought maybe I could talk about that in today's video. There's one fear that I've had ever since I was younger that might be kind of weird, but I think a lot of people might understand too. I hope. I love Nintendo, but there's one series from them that I have never been able to play a game from. And the reason for that is because of the main character of the series, Donkey Kong. It's mostly just the faces he makes that freak me out. Like, this is the face he makes when someone hits him in Smash Bros. Look at that! This is supposed to be a family-friendly game. Since my boyfriend and our friends know how much I hate him, whenever we play Nintendo games, they always choose him so that I have to face off against him. So whenever we're playing games like Mario Kart or Smash Bros, it's always me surrounded by a bunch of Donkey Kongs. Not to mention that old cartoon series he used to have kind of scarred me for life. Other people can relate too, right? Okay, maybe it's just me. I've also never been able to handle scary movies. I remember one time we were watching a scary movie in class, and I was sitting at the back with my friend. I kept telling people that I didn't even find the movie scary at all, that nothing in it even looked real, but on the inside I was dying. It got to this one scene in the movie where the main character was alone in the dark, and everything went really quiet, and you could just tell that a jump scare was about to happen. So I tried to be prepared for it so I wouldn't even react. But when it came, it still managed to catch me off guard and freaked me out enough to make me scream and jump in my seat. And when I did that, I accidentally kicked my friend. Everyone else in the class turned to look at me while I sat there shaking and almost crying, still trying to tell them that the movie wasn't scary to me at all. That's not the only time where I've ended up terrified because I couldn't admit that I hated scary things. I remember the first time I went to Disneyland when I was little. My family and I went on the Haunted Mansion ride, and it scarred me for years. I got over this fear eventually though. I went on the Haunted Mansion ride again last year, and I realized that it really isn't scary at all. Apart from the part in the elevator, that's kinda freaky. The ride did also keep breaking down the first time we went on it too, which was kind of annoying. But it seems that every time I go to a theme park, I find a new thing to be afraid of. Last year, I went on holiday to America with my boyfriend Jordan and his family. On one of the days we were there, we went to Universal Studios in Orlando. And can I first just say that Harry Potter World is absolutely amazing? I fangirled for literally the entire time we were there. It was the best part of the whole trip by far. I have so much I want to talk about with that. Maybe I'll save it for another video one day. Anyway, after a super fun day of Harry Potter, we decided to go on one last ride on the way out. A dropper ride. I had never been on one of these rides before, but they are just the scariest looking things. The thought of being slowly pulled up into the air only to be pushed back down to the ground at full speed sounded terrifying. I really didn't want to do it, but I felt like I had to at least try it before deciding that I couldn't do it. And maybe it would be the same thing as the Haunted Mansion ride, and it wouldn't be so scary after all. So I agreed to do it, and we all got in line for the ride. My nerves started to kick in extremely quickly. The entire ride looked kind of dodgy. It had this kind of industrial theme that made it look like everything could just fall apart at any second. Jordan could tell that I was nervous, so he was trying to tell me that it was okay. He'd been on lots of dropper rides before, and they're really not scary. But then his sister told me that this ride was a lot faster than any other dropper ride they'd been on before, and my nervousness doubled. Once we got to the end of the line, our group had to be separated into different sides. I was with Jordan while everyone else was on the other side. As soon as it was just us two, I couldn't hold it in anymore, and I just started to cry. Jordan managed to calm me down, and we got on the ride together. I tried to relax and just get it over with. I learned to do this thing where when I'm doing something like watching a scary movie, I force myself to daydream, so I end up missing pretty much the entire movie because I'm just sitting there in my own little world. So I tried to do that and not think about the ride at all, until suddenly the guy working there came out and said, "Good luck, you're gonna need it." And I know that this is what they're told to say, but it made me start to panic 100 times more. Now, I thought that it was gonna be a slow and anxious ride up to the top, and then a drop back down to the bottom. But then suddenly our seats just zoomed super fast up into the air. I couldn't breathe. I wanted to scream, but I couldn't. I saw my life flash in front of my eyes as the ride reached the highest point and slowed down for a second. Jordan tried to tell me that the fastest part of it was over, and I hoped it was, but nope. The coming back down part just felt so much worse. Also, since Jordan was pretty much just trying to comfort me throughout the whole ride, he ended up not paying any attention to the ride himself. When we finally got off the ride, everybody else was happy and talking about how crazy and fun it was, while I could barely even stand up by myself from the shock. I was in hysterics. I remember since I was crying into Jordan's chest, I left him with a big wet patch on his shirt too. The whole thing was just really embarrassing, and I am never going to go on another dropper ride again. And those are my stories. I have a lot more strange fears to talk about, so let me know if you'd like to hear them. Thank you for watching. Bye!